Happy Wednesday, everyone. Thank you for joining me for this 16th episode of the Southern Conservative Podcast. My name is Ty. This will be the final podcast this week as I'll be making a brief return to the People's Republic of Maryland. The next podcast will come out on Monday, February 12th. Before we begin today, I just want to briefly touch on some headlines before we get into the details of the unredacted version of the Senate criminal referral into Christopher Steele. Today, Nancy Pelosi held her own mini filibuster in the House, speaking for over 8 hours. There is a budget battle going on in Congress, and Nancy is hell-bent on addressing DACA. The Senate was able to come up with a spending bill that funds the government through 2020 without addressing DACA. It increases spending levels by $300 billion by taking the cap off military spending and dramatically increasing domestic spending. While I like to see the government funded for more than just a few weeks or months at a time, this does absolutely nothing, folks, to address the out-of-control debt in this country. Okay, let's get into the main topic of today's podcast. The FBI has okayed the release of an unredacted version of a criminal referral into Christopher Steele, put together by Senators Chuck Grassley and Lindsey Graham. I highlighted yesterday the portions of the referral that were made available on Monday. Now, most of the referral has been declassified, although there are still some key redactions. And I'll include a link in the description of this video so that you can see and read for yourself the entire unredacted version of the criminal referral. The case the senators are attempting to make in this referral is that Christopher Steele lied to the FBI about his leaking of information he put together in a dossier that ultimately was used to obtain a FISA warrant to spy on Carter Page. If you haven't checked out the podcast from yesterday, please be sure to do that before you continue on with this podcast. In March 2017, when James Comey was asked why the FBI relied on the dossier to obtain a FISA warrant despite the lack of corroboration and the political motives behind the dossier's creation, Comey replied that it was because Christopher Steele was deemed to be reliable due to his past work for the Bureau. You see, Steele was an FBI informant who was feeding the FBI information directly, the same information he was putting in the dossier. The FBI had even authorized payment for Steele for his information, but that ultimately never came to pass, and you'll see why. So Comey believed Steele to be reliable. Yet on September 23, 2016, Michael Isikoff published a story on Yahoo News in which he discussed Carter Page's ties to Russia. The information for that story came from Christopher Steele, who also wrote this information in the dossier. The referral by Chuck Grassley and Lindsey Graham notes that the FBI relied heavily on the dossier and the information in the dossier provided by Steele to apply for a FISA warrant against Page. Now, there is a redacted paragraph in the referral that is likely discussing Christopher Steele's explanation to the FBI that the details of the Yahoo News story did not come from him. The referral mentions that the FBI told the FISA court that based on previous reporting by Christopher Steele to the FBI finds Steele to still be a credible source. And in the application for the FISA warrant, it was noted that the Yahoo News article, quote, generally matches the information about Page that Steele discovered doing his research, and that the FBI does not believe Steele directly provided this information to the press. So let's put all of that together. Although redacted, it's apparent that Steele told the FBI that he was not the source for the information in the Yahoo News story. And the FBI apparently believed him. The FBI believed Steele to be a credible source because of Steele's past relationship with the FBI. The FBI never corroborated that story with their own sources, and the FBI never looked into Steele's claims. In fact, the FBI claims to have corroborated the dossier by using the Yahoo News story, writing in the FISA application that they believe Steele did not provide information to the press. But as I've said before, the referral later notes the information in the Yahoo News story was provided by Steele. So either Steele lied to the FBI or the FBI knew the Yahoo News story source was Christopher Steele, and the FBI lied to the FISA court about that information. Steele would later be fired by the FBI, according to the details in the Nunes memo, because he revealed himself as an FBI informant to Mother Jones. This occurred in October of 2016. Steele's firing meant that the FBI was not going to pay him for information that it had previously authorized. This firing would have come after the first FISA application was made by the FBI. But it's important to remember that the FBI never independently verified the information in that dossier, and never told the FISA court that the dossier was funded by Hillary Clinton and the DNC. According to the Senate referral, quote, "The dossier information was compiled pursuant to the direction of a law firm who had hired an identified U.S. person. That person was Glenn Simpson of Fusion GPS, and the law firm is Perkins Coie." But the application failed to mention that the law firm was hired by the DNC and the Hillary Clinton campaign. Those are key details the FISA court was never made aware of. Although Steele was fired by the FBI still believed the information compiled by Steele to still be credible, and noted this on the application for the FISA renewal in January 2017. They mentioned that the FBI still did not believe Steele had leaked the information to Yahoo News. Additionally, in British court filings, Steele mentioned that he revealed information to journalists in the media, specifically the New York Times, the Washington Post, Yahoo News, the New Yorker, and CNN during the summer and fall of 2016. This would have been before he was fired by the FBI. The media first reported on those court filings in April of 2017. The FBI submitted applications to renew the FISA warrant in April and June of 2017. That would have been the third and fourth FISA warrants the FBI was trying to get. The first warrant came in October of 2016, the second in January of 2017, and the third and fourth ones in April and June of 2017. Both of those applications, the ones in April and June, as well as the previous applications, relied heavily on the dossier and information submitted by Christopher Steele. In fact, these two applications also used the same argument that the FBI used in its January 2017 application, that Steele's information he compiled prior to his firing was still credible. That is absolutely unbelievable, folks. Further, as mentioned yesterday, the referral mentions that an additional memo, you could call it a second dossier, was compiled by information that was unverified and unsolicited. You see, as Steele kept leaking to the press about compiling a dossier, all sorts of people started to feed information to Steele. That information was never verified. And some of the information came from the State Department from a foreign subsource with ties to associates of Hillary and Bill Clinton. Some sources say that Sidney Blumenthal, a confidant of Hillary Clinton, is involved in this somehow. This portion of the referral still has names redacted, so we don't know the true connections to the Clintons yet. But you can see how the FBI still relied on Steele's information despite numerous contacts he had with the media in the summer and fall of 2016, which would have been prior to his firing by the FBI. Yet the FBI still found the information he put together prior to his firing to be credible, and in the first two applications, the FBI failed to do its own verification of whether Steele had given information to Yahoo News about Carter Page. Now, when you combine this with the fact that Carter Page has not been charged with colluding with Russians, and the fact that he hasn't been charged with anything, and yet the FBI was able to obtain 4 separate authorizations from a FISA court to spy on Carter Page. And don't forget, it was Peter Strzok, the man who helped get Hillary Clinton off the hook for her mishandling of classified information. He opened the original investigation into Trump-Russia collusion. Text messages between him and Lisa Page reveals their disdain for the president. The Nunes memo that was released last Friday states Christopher Steele had told Bruce Orr, who was the Associate Deputy Attorney General at the time, that he didn't want to see Trump become president and was passionate that he not get elected. Folks, the spying on Carter Page was merely a way to get deeper inside Trump's inner circle of associates. It's clear that the FBI never bothered to do its own verification into the Steele dossier, and they still found his work to be credible despite the fact Steele had numerous contacts with the media, making him a less than reliable source for the FBI. The fix was absolutely in, folks. Now, I want to remind everybody to please check out the Facebook page, especially since there won't be another podcast until Monday. Go to facebook.com/Southern Conservative. That's facebook.com/Southern Conservative. There you will find links to articles from conservative outlets on news you probably won't hear about in the mainstream media. Plus, if you follow the daily news feed, you'll find links every day to the podcasts. Be sure to also subscribe to this YouTube channel. You'll be notified when new podcasts are posted. Podcasts are made daily, Monday through Thursday, but remember, there will not be a podcast tomorrow. Finally, the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee has released almost 400 pages of text messages between Peter Strzok and Lisa Page. One particular text message from September 2nd, 2016, from Lisa Page to Peter Strzok reads, "POTUS wants to know everything we're doing." According to the Washington Examiner, the text message was in reference to talking points being prepared by James Comey for then-President Barack Obama. It will be interesting to know what exactly President Obama was told about the investigation. Remember, Department of Justice Inspector General Michael Horowitz will be releasing a report next month that will detail the handling of the Clinton investigation. There were also some interesting text messages sent and received on Election Day. Lisa Page wrote, "This is effing terrifying." Peter Strzok replied that he was so depressed. Then Lisa Page replied by texting, quote, "I bought all the president's men, figure I need to brush up on Watergate." Was Lisa Page admitting wrongdoing and suggesting that she needed to cover up her tracks in light of the fact that Trump was just elected President of the United States? The text messages released do not include the messages the FBI said were lost, but Michael Horowitz's office was later able to recover. Those messages span the time period between December 13th, 2016 and May 17th, 2017, a very critical time in the developments of the FBI's Trump-Russia collusion investigation. I'm sure information will be very revealing once those messages are released to the public. Well, folks, that's it for today. Again, there will not be another podcast until Monday. Expect that podcast to be chock full of all kinds of new details. It seems like we get new information on either the Hillary Clinton email scandal or the FISA warrant scandal every day. And just to mention this, if you have been following the news reports by Sarah Carter and John Solomon the last several months, especially prior to all of this information around the FISA warrants, they were reporting heavily on the Uranium One scandal. This was where a CFIUS panel approved the sale of uranium in the United States to Russia. Hillary was one of the people who signed off on that approval. Well, an informant by the name of William Campbell gave information to several committees on Capitol Hill today. He had been trying to make the case to the FBI for years, well before the Uranium One sale was approved, that the Russians were trying to bribe their way into getting American uranium assets. When more details about this become available, I'll make them known to you. Well, folks, that's it for today. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll be back with you on Monday.